The blizzard howled outside with a fury that seemed unrelenting. Inside a quiet cabin nestled deep in the woods, Ethan Brooks, a retired paramedic, sat bundled in a heavy wool blanket, his hands wrapped around a steaming mug of coffee. Solitude was something he had grown used to, especially after losing his wife. But tonight the silence felt different, thicker, heavier, like the storm had carried more than just snow. Then a sound. Soft, barely audible. A scraping noise against the wood. He paused mid-sip. Another faint whimper followed. He set down the mug and listened again. Yes, scratching, followed by a muffled cry. He stood, heart beginning to race, and cautiously walked toward the front. Door through the frost-covered glass, he saw her. A German shepherd, trembling violently, was half buried in snow. Her fur was stiff with ice, her body gaunt, and her ribs visibly protruding. Huddled close against her sides were two tiny puppies, barely visible, nestled deep under her protective frame. Their mother's eyes met his through the glass, wide. Glassy, desperate, Ethan hesitated. Letting in a stray during a blizzard could be dangerous. But this wasn't just a stray. She wasn't alone. She was pleading not just for herself but for her babies. His hand hovered over the doorknob for only a moment more before he made his decision. He opened the door. The dog didn't move. She remained frozen, unsure. Ethan crouched low, speaking gently. "Come on, girl, you'll die out there." She whimpered, uncertain. Then, slowly, she nudged one puppy forward and stepped tentatively into the cabin. The first pup stumbled. Too weak to walk, it collapsed. Without hesitation, she picked it up by the scruff and carried it inside. The second followed closely behind. Once inside, Ethan quickly shut the door behind them, sealing out the bitter, cold. The temperature change made the mother dog shake even more violently. Ethan grabbed a warm quilt and gently placed it over her and the pups. She flinched at first, but stayed still, settling near the fireplace and curling protectively around her little ones. Ethan knelt nearby, watching the puppies struggle to breathe, their tiny chests rising and falling with effort. He reached out instinctively, but the mother gave a low, cautious growl, not aggressive, just protective. "All right," he whispered, raising his hands in surrender. "You're doing great, Mama, you've been through hell." He moved to the kitchen and returned with a bowl of warm water, placing it near her. She stared, hesitant, then leaned forward and began to drink. The pup snuggled deeper into her warmth. Where had she come from? How had she ended up here, out in a snowstorm with newborns and no one? Her body told the story. Starved, drained, but still standing, still fighting. Ethan hadn't felt this much emotion in a long time. He hadn't had a dog since his wife passed. Life had been empty. But as he watched this fragile family clinging to survival, he felt something stir inside him. He couldn't turn them away. "You're a fighter," he said softly. "Just like me." That night, Ethan sat in his recliner, the fire glowing warmly as the little family huddled nearby. He didn't know what tomorrow held, but he'd made an unspoken promise. They were safe. The next morning came quietly. Ethan stirred and glanced at the fireplace. The mother dog, still curled tightly around her pups, lifted her head. One pup squeaked and yawned, stretching its tiny legs. "Good morning, girl," Ethan whispered with a smile. He headed to the kitchen and heated some leftover chicken soup. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. She sniffed the air as he brought over the bowl and after a moment's pause began to eat. He watched her closely. "You carried them through that storm," he murmured. "You deserve a damn medal." Later that day, Ethan took a closer look at their condition. The mother was dangerously underweight. The pups were nursing, their little tails twitching. That simple movement sparked a flicker of hope. He picked up the phone. "Hi, this is Ethan Brooks. I've got a shepherd and two pups here. They need help. Bad." The nearest vet clinic agreed to see them that afternoon. Transporting them wasn't easy. He found another blanket and approached slowly. Again, the mother growled low when he got too close. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'm just trying to help." Eventually, she let him lift the pups into the truck. She followed on her own, reluctant but willing. The drive into town was slow and cautious through the snow. At the clinic, Dr. Lacey Harmon examined them carefully. "She's malnourished," she said, "but incredibly strong. Those pups wouldn't have made it without her." Ethan exhaled. "She just showed up at my door. If I hadn't opened it..." Dr. Harmon gave a soft smile. Then she picked the right door. Back home, the dog seemed more at ease. The pups, now fed and warm, nestled against her. For the first time, she allowed Ethan to gently stroke her head. "You're safe now," he said quietly. "You're home." In the days that followed, something beautiful happened. Ethan named the mother dog Mira and the pups Cole and Blizzard. Mira began to regain strength. Her ribs became less visible and her eyes brighter. Ethan found himself smiling again. The house, once filled with silence, was now alive. One evening, as snowflakes danced outside, Ethan sat on the floor. Mira lay beside him while Cole and Blizzard tumbled playfully across a rug. Mira looked up at him and, for the first time, leaned into his hand. "You brought life back here," he whispered. Later, as the snow finally began to melt, Ethan took them outside. Mira stepped cautiously onto the icy ground, her pups wobbling behind her. Suddenly, Mira froze. Her body tensed, ears upright, eyes locked on the tree line. "What is it, girl?" Ethan followed her gaze. He saw nothing. But Mira growled. A deep, guttural warning. Ethan picked up the pups and led her back inside, locking the door. That night, Mira paced restlessly by the window. Something, or someone, had been out there. And then Ethan saw it. A figure, standing just beyond the trees. "Mira," he whispered. She looked, and growled again. Ethan called the sheriff. "There's someone watching the cabin." Deputy Sandra Hayes arrived and swept the area with a flashlight. She returned with concern etched on her face. "Whoever it was is gone, but we found tracks and a rope tied to a tree." Ethan's stomach turned. Someone had been camping there, watching. The next morning, Mira lunged at the door again, snarling. Ethan peered out. The man had returned. Wearing a torn coat, he stepped forward, rope in hand. "That's my dog," he said flatly. She ran off. Ethan's jaw clenched. "She showed up half dead with 2 starving pups. If she was yours, why was she like that?" "She's dangerous," the man replied. "You don't know what she's capable of." "I know she's capable of love," Ethan snapped. "Now get off my property." Mira stood at the door, teeth bared. The man backed away, disappearing into the woods. That night, Mira curled around her pups as Ethan sat beside her. He rested a hand on her back. "He's gone," he whispered. "You protected them. Protected all of us." And for the first time, Mira slept soundly. In the darkest storm of her life, she found shelter. And in saving her, Ethan found something too. Family, love, and a reason to feel again.